wait, stop. He sells on the Pacers that he's talked hype about all season, and then buys the 76ers that we have trashed all season.
They got the generation of chatter on Twitter everywhere, and I'm pissed I'm giving it to them, but damn it needs to be talked about.
Starting to become big-time free agents, granted, but in their childhoods, in the early 2000s, were the Knicks ever good? No.
Welcome back to another episode of Dribbling Around. Joining us for episode 17. Thanks. We're getting close to 200 followers on Instagram, so make sure to like, share, comment, all that stuff. Got some news and non-bubble talk. We also got some exciting playoff games to go over. But first things first, we started episode, I think, 1 or 2 ago with some breaking news that the Nets were looking at Coach Pop to become their new head coach, take Kyrie and KD to the next level. And now all of a sudden, since he was off limits, they go with Steve Nash. Like, he was their second option. How do you go from, okay, we're going to go for Pop, but then if we can't get him, let's just settle for Steve Nash. Not Ty Lue, as if there's not an NBA champion caliber coach just waiting for someone to give him that head coaching position. It's just that, and Jacques Vaughn, too, who led them to an impressive bubble with the roster they had. But Steve Nash, Jayden, I know you have some very colorful thoughts.
Strong opinions. Here we go.
So, the idea behind it is, I think it's a good idea behind it, right? So if you're making that hiring, right, you're thinking, all right, you want someone that KD and Kyrie can respect right at the bat, and nobody needs to, or Steve Nash is one of the most respected NBA players of all time, right? So this guy's coming in as head coach, right? And he's been dubbed, and this word has been floated around, basketball Yoda, right? So he comes out and he spent some time with the Warriors a little bit, just being like an advisor, and he'll step on the court, and people will just come to him for information because Steve Nash is just such a, he has so much wisdom about the game and one of the greatest point guards to ever step on the court. So, people just love to be around him and speak that basketball knowledge, right? But being an advisor and being a coach are two very different things, right? So, yes, I think the communication and finding a coach that KD and Kyrie are going to love and enjoy and be around is going to be awesome, right? And for them, it's going to be great. My question is, how is it going to be for the rest of the team and the bench and all that, right? And Steve Nash had a little bit of experience with that in the Lakers, right? I believe he spent some time with the Lakers towards the back end of his career, playing more of a six-man bench role, if you will, not as dominant as he was, right? But it's the best player coaches, the player going into a coach are players that have done both. They've been in that limelight spot for a bit and then also know how it is to be a bench warmer, right? Steve Nash, I don't think he knows a lot about being a bench warmer, I think we could all say that. Another thing with Steve Nash is I like the hiring as it stands right now. But when it gets into crunch time, it's the fourth quarter, and they're coming down to it. Who is Nash is Nash gonna be the guy to say, all right, Kyrie, KD's gonna take this shot right here, right? Or is that gonna be a conversation between KD and Kyrie, or leaving the coach out of it, So how much of a role is he gonna have actually in the game itself? That I have a lot of questions going forward, but I think it's just something that we have to see with our eyes. But hiring a coach that KD and Kyrie signed off on pretty much, I think for KD and Kyrie, it can't be any better. In my opinion, it can't be any better for KD and Kyrie. My question is for the rest of the Nets and what's going to happen in crunch time in the fourth quarter in big moments. How is he going to be able to coach under pressure? That's my question. Yeah.
You mentioned the rest of the team. For the Nets, it's not about the rest of the team. It's all about KD and Kyrie. This team has never won a championship.
And then my point from weeks ago saying that, all right, they're going to play great without them, and now it's still revolving with them.
That doesn't mean I think they're going to play bad. But when it comes down to the coaching decision, it's not about what the rest of the team thinks. It's about what KD and Kyrie think and who fits well with them. Steve Nash, like you said, he was an advisor with the Warriors worked with Kevin Durant closely, built
Mhm.
that relationship. So he's obviously okay with that. He probably has a great relationship with him. And also, I get he has no head coaching experience. And I get that there are potentially some other candidates with more experience, maybe some other people of color that had some more experience. And that's why Stephen A. Smith mentioned the argument that he had. But there have been plenty of other coaches that have jumped in with no head coaching experience that have turned out to be great coaches. Steve Kerr, I get he was put into a big situation.
Different situation. That
But
team was
no,
groomed for
but
him.
get it.
I think
He
no,
didn't
I,
have
th- I
PD
think
when
it was
he
a very
started.
different situation because
Doc Rivers didn't have any coaching experience when
very
he
true,
jumped in.
very true.
Mark Jackson when he jumped in. So it's not like this is an unprecedented situation where you bring in a coach that has no experience. And Steve Nash, he's a guy that knows the game
Yeah,
very
but we
well.
said that about Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Like what happened
I
with
get
them
that.
and
I
they
get
started
that.
to coach, you know? So
I get that. And I
it's a
think it'll
two-way
work
street.
out. Don't get me wrong. I think
Yeah.
it's going to work out because of the talent that he has in that roster. And like, if it doesn't work out, then obviously he's going to be fired because whatever NBA coach, if you're good enough to be an NBA coach, you should be a championship caliber team with that roster with the Brooklyn Nets.
Mhm.
But what I'm saying, I don't – could you have found a better candidate? Yes. But what it came down to with Sean Marks, the general manager of the Brooklyn Nets, was what fits best for my two-star players? How do I make them happy?
Yeah, and they are going to be happy now. I agree.
Exactly. So that's what it was all about.
But what are you sacrificing now at this point? You're sacrificing the team that we saw play considerably well in the bubble, now having to flounder once again with the new coach. I'm not saying that I'm saying Steve Nash, he's going to be a great basketball voice to have in the locker room and stuff like that, you know? And I'm obviously not questioning his leadership skills either. But when it comes to coaching an NBA basketball game, we've never seen it. And it's not like he has infinite time. He has 2 years to win this ring or else it's a failure. It's obvious failure. So it really comes – it's like, all right, here you go. Good luck, you know. Here's the reins. Go take it. Here's KD, Kyrie, Steve Nash. And putting someone in that type of position is stressful, man, and not only for the players but for the fans too. Imagine the Nets fans right now. It's like, yeah, you got Steve Nash, but this guy's really never done it before.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I'm the most negative out of this hiring out of the three of us. I thought Jayden was going to be like, oh, I hate this one. But no, I do. And Dane, you said it, like you have all that talent on that roster. Look what Brad Stevens couldn't win a championship. They couldn't do stuff with Kyrie in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Brooks was a great coach in OKC, and they never won a championship. I mean, we've seen both these stars have pretty decent coaches and talented rosters galore, but they couldn't get over the hump. And now you're appeasing them. You're not really pleasing them. You're appeasing them right now.
But you gotta say,
I don't like Steve Nash has a spot as the assistant coach. No, of course.
Oh
they
yeah,
have to have a
100%.
say,
I
because
agree with that too.
I'm not saying they
coach.
shouldn't be involved at all, but I'm saying Steve Nash absolutely really no head coaching experience whatsoever at this level of basketball. And now you're throwing him into the ring of fire, which is a New York media outlet coaching Kyrie Irving. Like that's like do or die, fight or flight.
But
Like,
wouldn't you want a guy that's calm?
Put him on the bench as an assistant. No, let me finish. Dane, let me finish. Put him on the bench with it as an assistant. If, say, Ty Lue or Jock Vaughn doesn't work out, well, now you know what you have in him. Now you're not tied down to a contract that, hey, maybe Steve Nash isn't a head coach or assistant coach material in the NBA. But then you have Ty Lue, who's an NBA caliber, NBA head coach who's won a championship with Kyrie. Like, that's the thing. It's not, oh, Steve Nash. Like, I don't think you want a head coach who's just going to let KD and Kyrie do whatever. Like, you got to have a guy who knows when to crack the whip, when to step in and say, I'm the head coach. I don't care what star you are. That's what Ty Lue did in Cleveland that helped with LeBron, Kyrie.
Lost Connor. Too good.
That's why they won. And then
well, hopefully we'll get back to Connor there. Argument, I guess.
The connection's messed
I
up,
didn't freeze him on
right.
purpose.
I know, but let me say, I do understand his point, only because I was feeling that's very similar to Connor, because why is Steve Nash going to be this guy? And what Connor is saying is that he doesn't believe Nash can be like the Ty Lue, for example, like to be that guy saying to shut things down. But then again, I feel like Ty Lue wasn't that guy either. LeBron was more that guy, you know?
Connor's slowly trying to unfreeze his way back in. But, yeah, listen, it was about who KD and Kyrie wanted. And at this point in their career, they both have a championship. And with the New York media, I would have a guy who's more calm, cool, collected, someone like Steve Nash to really handle all that. I mean, it's not – you could go with a guy that has some head coaching experience, but it's more about, as we're going to let Connor back in, it's – you have a guy with playing experience. You have a guy that's also been in the – not necessarily in the big limelight in city-wise, but
Did you just go on without me?
Well, what are we going to do?
Let me join. Wait for me. Did it cut
Connor, you can get back to the argument.
Did it cut me off mid-rant?
Go ahead.
It froze, yo. Screen froze. No one can hear.
Dude,
Go finish.
I was pissed because I was going on a good rant, and then I realized, like, wait a minute, Jayden's not moving. I was like, I had no idea whether or not to keep going or not. But no, what was the last stuff you heard?
You're talking about Ty Lue and
what? Just how he was able to be the he was able
But
to
I don't think so. I don't think he was able to.
You have to keep the stars in check while you also give them a leash. Ty Lue was able to balance that. He got the balance down with arguably the most.
I think that was because of LeBron, not because of Ty Lue. I think you're giving too much credit.
Why didn't it work for David Blatt? Why didn't it work for Mike Brown before LeBron's first stint in Cleveland?
But it's not about what. It's not about. KD probably didn't want Ty Lue. Kyrie had problems going out of Cleveland. They didn't want Ty Lue. It's about who they
had
wanted.
Problems because Cleveland was shopping him, not because he didn't like Ty Lue as a coach.
Okay, but they didn't. They'd rather have Steve Nash over Ty Lue.
And also, he buried the hatchet with LeBron. You mean to tell me that he still has animosity against Ty Lue?
I'm not saying that he has animosity.
You never know. It's Kyrie, baby.
I'm saying I'm not. Even if he does or he doesn't. Let's say he doesn't. I'm saying KD and Kyrie, especially because of KD and his relationship that he built with Nash because of the Warriors, it was about them, and they went with Steve Nash. That's what it was about. I'm not saying
I still think Ty Lue and Jacques Vaughn were a better hire. You put Steve Nash on the bench as an assistant, and I can't remember if I'm being repetitive right here because I don't know when I mentioned this, if it was in the rant that froze out or not. But no, Steve Nash should have started out as an assistant because how do you go from some sort of advisor in Golden State? Yeah, I get it. He worked well with Kevin Durant. He has a good relationship with him. And obviously KD trusts him enough to be the head coach for his team. But how do you go from that role to now being the head coach in the New York market with KD and Kyrie and the focus being on you for the next 2 years? Like it might not ever be for another team.
Listen,
the Nets have always done everything different.
Like coaches haven't done this though. We've seen it though. We've seen them come in to these situations and we've seen them be good coaches. And another thing,
but Steve Kerr hiring is different because Steph Curry was not a top 5 player in the NBA. Klay Thompson was not a top 5 shooter.
I'm saying
it's not the same thing. Like this is like completely like just okay. Here you go. Like, I'm not going to be making any decisions, KD and Kyrie. Here's the franchise. Leave me out of it. That's all that move was.
I get he doesn't have experience, but he's got all these weapons. He's got some shooters, and he's got 2 superstars. And Steve Nash, while he played 2-time MVP, Kobe should have won the second one, but we're not going to get into that. But
different discussion.
Arguably, one of, if not the best offensive minds in the game. That's
but and we're not denying that, and we're not denying that. But the thing is he willing and obviously willing, but is he able to be a head coach? We're not denying his mental capability and his communicative skills and his leadership skills, right? I'm just wondering when push comes to shove, how is he going to be able to be a head coach? Sort of similar to the point that Connor's making, where it's to be able to crack the whip. Connor doesn't like it, but I like it only because I understand the emotional and mental intent behind it, which is to make sure that your boys are happy. You're paying these guys all this money.
And we're going to see if he's a good coach.
Happy.
I just want to make one more final point because we've been spending too much time on this. We've been spending too much time on this. This bubble, we got playoffs. But Stephen A. brought up one thing that kind of was a discussion topic for a couple days after he made it. And it's like he mentioned white privilege was this hiring. Now, I'm going to admit, my eyes are not trained to see that. I'm not actively looking for it. And even when I do see it, I might not recognize it. I just agree with the fact that he's pointing out that there is a significant lack of minority coaches in this league, especially after Nate McMillan was just fired. And I think that was kind of knee jerk because you look at all of Indiana's eliminations, like they weren't full health.
Exactly.
Like I don't think Nate McMillan got a fair try. Alvin Gentry, I mean, he's a great offensive coach, but he needs to work on, like, his teams aren't as good defensively. But I mean, it's just, this hiring just really seemed clunky. Like, way too random for a team that
I
this is
wouldn't
a
say it's
huge
as random
gamble.
as you think. I would say it's as random as you think. And
It's out of left field. Like,
It
I
is
mean, as
out
you
of left field 'cause you weren't
as you
expecting it.
evaluate it,
Yes.
it makes more sense.
Yeah.
But it's just
Yeah.
this
It's
is
not-
a
it's
huge
not
gamble
the
on a team
obvious
that
hiring, yeah.
I don't think this is the smart gamble to make for that team. That's all my.
It
that's
is a
my
gamble.
opinion.
I
Very
mean,
good point.
it's
It
a
is
gamble, but now one last thing. before
Now
we
you
get
have
to
to
the
see
next
if it'll
thing.
pay
For
off. Now it's like put up or shut up
for
that
like
Brooklyn
15
game.
seconds. We're going to see if Steve Nash is a good coach. We know he's a great offensive mind. He's got all these weapons to work from. It's not like he's put in some situation like with the Detroit Pistons or something and he's got limited offensive options. He's got everything in the world at
The
his
championship
disposal.
roster.
Yep. So if you don't do this, like you said, Jayden, 2-year window, you got to prove it. This is your chance. That's it.
Now, if they fail in these 2 years, is that Nash's
Is
fault,
that-
or is that the
or
GM's
Kyrie's fault?
fault, or is it Kyrie's fault? Is it
We'll
Katie's
see.
I
fault?
think it's a collective effort,
So
like
many
just because of that
questions.
hiring. But
Yeah,
I
see
mean,
by
we'll
then.
answer those questions down the
Yeah.
road. And I'm really pissed. My Wi-Fi just decided to shit the bed because that was a top 10 rant that I just had. Like, I
Wow.
was
So
going
I was up there.
off.
We did it on
Yeah.
purpose.
Oh, that was up there. Like I was on one. Like I
Is
had
there,
that
is
was
there any,
post-worthy.
is there any stink list
That was Instagram worthy.
members now or no?
Oh, yeah, stink list.
Oh, so stinkless. So
we got to go
before
into the
we
next
head
team,
into-
of course, right?
Well, no, here's what we're doing. We're going. Obviously, we have playoff basketball, but saw a couple series end this week, earlier in the week, so we got to talk about them. And I do have a couple members for my stink list specifically for my Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh.
Let's hear it. Connor stink list.
So, do you just want to hear my thoughts or the stink list first?
Describe why they are currently on your list at the moment.
All right, so I have I don't feel as good of Steven Adams for sure, hands down, first team all unanimous stink list. Like, you mean to tell me you're getting
Yeah.
bodied by 5 PJ
Five.
Tucker for a 7-game series? Like, he went on a light jog for 25 mil and just assumed oh, I'm 7 foot, I don't need to jump for a rebound, except whenever Houston might be one of the most underrated rebounding teams in the entire league. You got Russell Westbrook, PJ Tucker's fighting for everything, and then you got Eric Gordon and Rocco crashing the boards. And next thing you know, if you're not jumping off the ground full height, you have 4 Rockets jerseys surrounding you. And then how about this for that final play? And this is where another Billy Donovan's very close. I want to put him on there, but do I outweigh that by Coach of the Year? It's just Game 7 was a nightmare for Adams, Gallinari, and Billy Donovan. Adams because it was just another summary of a terrible series for him in general. Donovan because he was playing the wrong guys all game. Darius Baisley should have been getting Gallinari's minutes, and Nerlens Noel should have been getting Steven Adams. But I have no idea after rewatching each of the final plays, even the one where Chris Paul was fouled before the ball was even inbounded, who was supposed to get open?
I saw
that was it.
I know.
Adams,
I know what the play was. The second
was a
one.
no,
clip.
Adams was open.
Yeah.
And Shea should have just thrown it to the hoop and he
Yeah,
had
right
a
there.
tap
Yeah, exactly.
layup.
That's what I saw.
And
That's
even
what
on the
they
second
do.
inbounds play, there is a straight lane for Adams to just cut to the hoop because Tucker is going to the perimeter. Whoever's on Adams is staying on that back hip. Adams could have had a freeway to the hoop. He would have been going down Broadway on a red carpet untouched if he had any sort of basketball IQ. And then I think on the last play, it was set for, I think Adams was running out to the point or to the perimeter just to give a quick pass back to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, that was the call.
I think that was, but I mean,
I think it was.
that was just terrible. And the thing is, Russell Westbrook in the postgame presser said, "Oh yeah, I knew that was coming. Billy runs that play all the time." How are you going to run something that predictable to the point where it's not? I doubt it was just Westbrook saw the formation. Houston had to have been game planning for it.
No,
That's not when you just say, you know what, I don't care if you know it. I'm going to run it anyways, because there's 1.6 seconds left on the clock or whatever there was in a Game 7 do or die. You don't run something that they're expecting and just, okay, I think our guys can win the battle. No, you have to outthink them. You're the damn Coach of the Year.
as an NBA center, Adams, he didn't react. He was almost a little robotic in what he was doing. Go with the play. No, see the
Stinky.
floor, see the openings, react to what the defense is giving you, right? And he didn't do that. In terms of the Thunder and them moving forward, Chris Paul.
Probably going to be a Nick. It's going to be a sad day in New York.
I don't know. Okay, but the Thunder, I know you're upset, and we were upset. When we won
I'm
it
not
in
really
2005.
anymore because
But
I've gotten over
They
it
had
now.
Baisley,
But
who looks good. God
Easily.
bless Lou Dort's heart. I get they left him open a lot, but
Word.
30 in Game 7.
Dude,
Dort.
He
getting a Dort
plays
jersey?
So much better defense.
Not yet. I made a
Yeah.
bet that if
Playing much worse
OKC won,
defense
I would have
against
gotten that, but
all right.
Dort's gonna make some All NBA
The
defense
Thunder
teams,
have
without a doubt.
absolutely. The Thunder have a very bright future, especially with all their draft picks, and maybe they could stash that in for a star, and hopefully it's the right star this time, not just an MVP that'll leave. So
Wow.
the Thunder, they
staking
not a
player.
good percentage to make the playoffs. They almost knocked off James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I get Billy Donovan had a bad year, but he coached this team to the playoffs.
No, he had a bad
didn't break the
game.
Chris Paul.
Not a bad year. Not a bad year.
Yeah, sorry.
Can't have a bad year if you made it to the
Bad
playoffs
game.
and a team.
Yeah.
What, point, was it
Or
0.2%?
I didn't
Something
mean
like
that.
that,
I didn't mean to say that.
2%?
My bad.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to correct you.
Yeah. So, if anything, this team was arguably the biggest overachiever in the NBA this year. And then they gave you hope that they would beat the Rockets. And then they kind of, I don't want to say fall back to reality, but really stunk up the bed in those last few minutes.
Well, they took it to a Game 7 against
Exactly.
what? The 3
It's a
seed.
very
So
successful
Yeah, and they were
Yeah, I think
down
that's a
2
good
nothing
season.
and then down 3-2. So
yeah, and they fought.
I mean,
they fought.
yeah. Like
And
they
they still
showed
have
that they
Shea,
could
and
fight
Shea-
back, but yeah.
I
I'm
would have
not-
put Shea in
I'm
the
very
shit,
optimistic
but he's
for the
year
Thunder
two,
team.
So I'm not going to hit
I'm
on
very optimistic
And
because
Connor,
I think, you obviously have Schroeder and Adams coming up in contract years, and Gallinari, Noel, and I think that's it for the main free agents. Those guys are up. So I think what they've been doing is they've been bringing back Nerlens Noel on a 1-year deal. And I honestly think if you can, I'd trade Steven Adams and maybe sign Noel to a 3-year deal. Because I don't think you're
I
really
agree with that.
competing. I don't think you're competing to make like a top seed playoff team anymore. Like Chris Paul, you got a very good year out of him. I wasn't expecting that type of year, but he's 36 now. He's going to be 37. He's getting up there. And how much faith do you have in those legs holding up? How much faith do you have in his health holding up to the point where you can bank on him carrying your team with SGA and making a playoffs and being a dangerous team come then? I think if you can, you trade Adams for maybe a pick. I don't know what the market would be like because centers are just a very tough position to project value-wise and fit-wise too. But Nerlens he's athletic enough and defensive enough too. You don't need Steven Adams really on that deal or really munching those minutes. So Noel would be a great backup and a cheap backup too, or not backup, but alternative now. And then I don't know if Gallinari outplayed his price to stay in OKC, but it's just weird because
He'll want too much.
OKC
I don't pay him. I'll let him go.
if he wants too much, I don't think OKC is going to really like, oh, we need you. But it's just always because OKC last year, like going into the season, we didn't know if they were going to blow it up. Or I thought they had a good team on paper, and it was like, turns out they did. But we're in the same spot again. Did they blow it up? Or did they just run it back? Because if they run it back, they're obviously not an NBA championship contender, but they play fun basketball from time to time. Like, do they give it to? Do they owe it to Chris Paul to
I
be
think just
competitive?
continue to build around your young guys and try to run it back. Like I think they're years ahead of where they're supposed to be. They're years ahead of where they're supposed to be. But
I think,
yeah, you can't. Yeah, obviously,
You have so many picks in the future from the Paul George trade and the Russell Westbrook.
blow it up.
course,
When I think blow it up, I think just like let everything go to shit. But
You
no,
have
I'm thinking.
but-
well, yeah. I mean, whenever I say
chance.
blow it up, I'm saying
Yeah.
trade like Adams, maybe Schroeder, let Gallinari walk because I think like Chris Paul,
You
if you
would
don't
trade
bring him
Schroeder?
back, it's like not
He's in a contract
unless
year.
I get wowed. Yeah, he's in a contract year next year, but not unless I get wowed because that unit of Chris Paul, SGA, Schroeder, and then Gallinari and Adams was one of the best on
deadline
offensively and
time.
pressure.
Deadline time next year is going to be very important.
Hold
for the
on.
Thunder.
And I don't think they're going to bona fide necessarily, but if Baisley, probably not Dort, especially offensively. I know he had a great game 7, but
All you can go is up from
one
here.
of Shea or Baisley or one of those two turn into some bona fide superstar. Would you consider trading for a huge big time player?
100% because you have these
Are you
picks
still
so
thinking
far
Ben
down
Simmons?
the line.
Are you still thinking Ben Simmons? here?
I don't know because like now if I'm looking at a young core of, and this is very optimistic off of a small sample size from the bubble plus playoffs, but I'm looking at SGA, Dort as like your main wing defender and also who can provide a good catch and shoot night from time to time, as we saw, and then a growing Darius Baisley. I don't know if Ben Simmons would fit that mold. I don't think so, just because Baisley's good from 3-point range and then Dort's hit or miss and SGA is decent too, but That's just what's the spacing like going to be on that court?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm ringing the bell for Ben Simmons with that young core, but you have so many picks down the line that if you do end up like, say, Dort and Baisley both really progress well, how's it really going to hurt you that much? If you're just moving those picks to a superstar now, you're just kind of adjusting to your current timeline.
Mm-hmm. It's bright, and I think we'll see in the future. There's not much else. I mean, credit to Houston for pressure was on them, but another team.
It was Houston's series to lose.
Yes,
and they beat the odds. I'll give them not the odds necessarily because OKC was going up against them, but I mean it was a very tough game, and credit to them. Even though James Harden was stinky in Game 7, not on the stink list, but stinky.
Yeah, and
got my eye on him.
OKC, they lost in 7. Another team that lost in a Game 7 was the Utah Jazz, but a much different story compared to OKC. OKC was down 0-2. They were down 3-2 in that series, but Utah, 3-1 lead, they blow it to Denver. Credit to Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. We'll talk about them later. They play tonight. Tied, we'll see whether it's 2-1 Clippers or 2-1 Nuggets. Credit to them. They're still playing good basketball, but Donovan Mitchell signing a big extension. I wouldn't say their future's as bright as Oklahoma City, but you never know. With a guy like Donovan Mitchell, if you can find another threat, like big offensive threat, that team, I mean, I feel bad for Mitchell because he played his heart out, and Denver finally started to play well defensively. But, Jayden, I'll start with you. What do you think about Utah in these next few years? They have their bona fide star, but what else do they need to do?
Well, one thing I want to say is that if it wasn't for COVID, I think this Jazz team would be a lot better. And we talked a lot of crap about the Jazz, given that's where it all started, and the whole NBA COVID thing. So I think the Jazz's story this season would have been a lot different if it wasn't for COVID. With that being said, I don't think much is going to change in Utah. What I do think, not much is going to change in the grand scheme of things as it stands right now. But if things start to get continuously worse, I could expect to see Gobert maybe possibly find his way out of Utah or Mitchell. I know that sounds a little crazy saying Mitchell out of Utah, but if the connection isn't there between them two, then it's almost pointless going out there and playing basketball. We saw a good amount of connection during the bubble. I think they might have been able to gel once again because I remember the report saying
Gobert's in a contract year next year.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think Gobert might find his way. Mitchell might be a stupid thing to say, but Gobert, I think if things start to get really bad for Utah around deadline time, I think they try to get him out there as quick as possible.
Yeah, Jayden, that was a Goldstein-ish take with that Donovan Mitchell, but
yeah, I think
Dan,
Mitchell might be
I disagree. No way he's leaving.
Yeah,
Dane, I disagree with you saying that. Obviously, I'm not like saying your opinion's wrong. I just have a different one. That Utah's future is bright because there's no great offensive player trees in Utah growing around. Like they don't have that sidekick to Mitchell that's going to be able to give him buckets. Like Jordan Clarkson's a great option off the bench.
Star that could attract another one. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's bright. I'm not saying it's bright as OKC, but I'm saying there's light.
Well, they don't have the cap space. They need They pretty much are just going to remain stagnant next year because if they sign Gobert, I think they're not going to win a championship at all with Mitchell.
Y'all forget Bogdanovich is coming back next year. If
Bogdanovich isn't not your Robin though. Like Mitchell needs a Robin, and Gobert can't give you that.
I don't think Gobert's that guy.
If Bojan Bogdanovich was there, Utah would arguably be tied 1-1 with the Clippers right now. Yes.
They're not winning. No, I think they're winning max one game against the Clippers, but I think they probably win the Denver series. But Bogdanovich, Clarkson, those are all guys who are good supporting cast members on a championship team. Mitchell is a good star to have on a championship team. They are missing that sidekick. They brought in Mike Conley. He wasn't that. They've always been like late lottery or early playoff exit.
But they ended up getting Donovan Mitchell in the late lottery, right?
Then how come they haven't gotten to Donovan Mitchell every single year? That's just like it's not luck.
Saying draft well it's a tough thing to say. You have to get lucky in the draft. Sometimes you just end up with it.
It's like, I'll just go win the jackpot today.
All you need is one more Donovan, and I'm not saying.
And they're picking at what 22, something like that. Like you have to wait for Gobert's contract to expire.
All you need is one draft pick. That's it. To explode.
That's a lot easier said than done because Donovan Mitchell, like hindsight, he's arguably a top 2 player from his class.
But
And we just said they just extended Mitchell, correct?
Correct, or at
So-
least he's
so
planning to
then,
sign the
then,
extension.
then the heart and soul.
It's as good as signed.
Well, I'm
pretty
gonna
much.
say-
But
no,
listen, the heart and soul of Utah is in the soul of Donovan Mitchell, and everything else has a chance to be wiped off the table. I think Gobert's going to be.
Mitchell's
one of
dropped
the
in
guys
50
to go
burgers, though.
popped off.
I'm going to go back to 2011. Dirk Nowitzki with Dallas. He was the star-studded player on that team. He kind of had a Robin, but it was kind of a bunch of mini Robins. So I'm saying if Utah's general management can surround Mitchell and if he can become that good of a player in his prime.
Yeah, but that's different because you're talking about a forward compared to a guard. Like that's
I
completely
look at the
different
NBA
story.
landscape from
Comparing
2011
Dirk to
compared to
Completely
now.
way different story.
I'm not comparing Dirk to Donovan Mitchell, but what I'm saying, if Mitchell can improve his game into his prime, I think he's 22, 23, and become a top 10 player in the game in 2-3 years, which I don't think is far-fetched necessarily if he keeps doing not necessarily exactly what he did in the Nuggets series, but put up that offensive scoring. Then if you can find a bunch of nice pieces, not necessarily a Robin around him, then I think they could definitely be a threat every year in the playoffs, especially if they know the star is committed to Utah. I'm not saying
I disagree. Look at Dane, you mentioned the 2011 Mavs. Look at the NBA landscape from then compared to now. Like you have LeBron and AD, you have Paul George and Kawhi, and then every team and then you have Jokic and Murray too, and then also Curry, Clay coming back, plus the number 2 pick or whoever they trade for it. Like that type of theory of building a team does not work in today's NBA. You look around everywhere, and I think really the only team in the NBA that is legit a threat, the only 2 teams that don't have like a bona fide star with his sidekick are Toronto with Siakam, but like is kind of Kyle Lowry is like not really, because then you're looking at
You can't
really that good compared to Middleton.
Yeah,
and then you have Jimmy Butler in Miami is like you have a young supporting cast.
That's the team though. That's a perfect example. Jimmy Butler.
But do you think they're beating the Lakers, the Clippers in the 7-game series?
No. Listen to me. I'm not saying Utah's going to win a championship. I'm not saying anything.
Then don't build a roster that's not going to win a championship.
Build a roster like that with a bunch of shooters and everything like that with Quentin Snyder as head coach that doesn't require a bunch of huge sidekick Robin 1-2 punch, then maybe they could contend. I'm not saying that Utah is going to go, oh my gosh, Donovan Mitchell, 2-3 years, going to win an NBA title. No, I'm not saying that. But Jimmy Butler and the Heat are a great example. If Utah can sort of find sort of those pieces where they can shoot the rock and then they have a 1 in Mitchell that they can go to in crunch time like Miami does with Jimmy Butler, I'm not ruling it out. But I'm not saying that Utah's going to win. I'm just not ruling it out because Utah's not the worst general management in the league by any means. They built a good team.
It's not their fault Conley backfired in their face. Like, everyone was kind of praising that move whenever it was made. But, I mean, the way I see it, they're held hostage by those 2 contracts, Conley and Gobert, until they can expire and put that money elsewhere. But if they're not bringing back Conley for sure. That player option, like, as soon as he exercises it, he's gone from there. Just because that was not a fit.
This close.
For what? For what?
Beating Denver.
Conley shot. Yeah, and then losing in the second round and then making it even harder to find that draft star that you keep mentioning that is just going to fall into their lap.
Hey, I'm not saying
the Jazz are going like, if you're looking at like stocks, the Jazz are going like this, maybe down a little bit, and the rest of the West is just going to keep on going up. They're in a very mediocre, tough spot. So it's they're
not a mediocre team. It's just they don't move the needle.
Yeah, exactly.
They're a playoff team, but nothing more.
That's what I'm saying. They stay exactly a playoff team. Very good point, kind of. They stay exactly right where they are. No improvement, no less. No improvement, no less. So unless something big changes, I continue to see them going this way. So it's probably going to take another 2 years. It's going to be a road. It's going to be a long road for Utah.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move into the playoffs now that we've talked about the teams that have been sent home. Let's start off in the West because we obviously mentioned OKC and Utah. The teams that beat them, Houston, they're tied 1-1, and so is Denver. They're playing tonight. We're recording this Monday night, so Monday, Labor Day. So you'll obviously know what the series is, but let's start there. Denver Clippers, since that's tonight. Denver really showed out. Jokic, I think, had 24 in the first half and then, like, didn't need to do anything offensively in the second scoring-wise. But, I mean, I think I was calling, like, Denver's not stealing more than 1 game. It wouldn't shock me if they go to 6 now, but I'm still, like, not hesitating to pick the Clippers in this series. What about you guys?
Yeah.
For you, no, wait. You go first, Dan.
Okay. Obviously, I'm picking the Clippers. I said Clippers in 5 in this series in my bracket. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 6. And also, I talked to Connor about this. That graphic we did in last week's episode about build your franchise. I wouldn't have picked Jamal Murray, but he deserves to be in that graphic now.
I think I'd pick Jamal over
Give him another season.
Bam,
He has
Ben,
played so well in
and
the playoffs,
maybe Cat.
and you
Give him
got to
another
give him a
season.
ton of credit. And give Gary Harris is back. Ever since they got down 3-1 to Utah, Murray's carried them. Jokic is playing better basketball, and they're playing so much better out of the double teams for Jokic. And Jokic 1v1, like, it was funny. He said in the press conference, he's like, I'm not that fast, so I got to be patient. And if Zubats is guarding him or something like that, then obviously Jokic has the finesse moves to really get by him. And if someone else is guarding him, I get he's slimmer, but he can sort of bully his way. The Clippers were much more lackluster defensively in the second game, and I think that sometimes you see the lapses and things like that. And Colin Cowherd tweeted out a good point. Watching all these NBA playoffs, watching all these teams, none of the teams are great. They're all good. The only team that has a chance that really can show flashes of greatness for an extended period of time are the Clippers when they lock up defensively and they have Kawhi and PG clicking.
Yeah.
But
If
they weren't defensively in game 2. Do I think they'll bounce back? Yes. But it shows that you can't slack off in these playoffs. Jamal Murray, he's for real. Jokic, he's for real. So that's all I got to say. I have Clippers in 6 at this point, but Jayden, you can go ahead.
What do I think, Dane? I think I'm scared that the Clippers aren't going to make it all the way to the finals. And for you guys, even for your sake, we'll win the championship because you're going against a team like Denver and you want to get a team like
You think
Dallas,
they're losing the
right?
series?
No. I'm not saying that. I think they might lose.
Let's let them finish. Let's let them finish.
Because the Lakers, I feel, are a lot more of a consistent team of basketball. Every time you step on the court, I feel like the Lakers have a more consistent brand. At least I know I know what I'm expecting from them. From the Clippers, every night it's a different story. That's how I see it.
Dude,
From the Lakers, I see a little bit more. No, I'm being dead serious.
Defensive consistency for the Lakers is off.
Yeah, but at least you
rocker.
know that their defense it might be shit sometimes. At least you know
But it can
that.
be great sometimes.
So they're
But at
consistently
least-
inconsistent, and that's why you feel better about them.
Because at least I know every time the Lakers step on the court, that's what I'm gonna expect. The Clippers, it's a different story every night. It's a different.
Inconsistent
No, it's
Yeah.
a different type of different. It's a different because I want to see the Clippers perform at a high level all the time, but they can never do that. The Lakers, I feel like, always perform at a consistent level, slightly lower. That just makes you feel a little better about the Lakers going
They
forward.
pooped the bed in game 1 against Houston. Like, it was bad basketball. Like,
Yeah, against Houston, though. But Houston's playing good basketball right now. I can't really see the same thing about Denver. I don't think they're playing awesome basketball at the moment. But Houston actually is playing pretty good basketball. Denver, I think they're a little shaky for me as well. The Clippers, I think coming into this playoffs, I was expecting a lot more from them, at least. And, like, they have not wowed me at all, the Clippers, at all. I've been not wowed once by anything the Clippers have done. I've been wowed by the Lakers a little bit. I've been wowed by the Houston. I've been wowed by even OKC. Denver, obviously, they came back all that way. The Clippers, they've just been, like, mailing it in, But the Clippers.
I mean, I agree with that
in
they
the
haven't
West.
wowed anyone because they beat obviously inferior team in Dallas,
Yeah.
but Dallas gave them fits. And now
Exactly, and they
Denver's
made it look
giving
a little
them fits,
shaky
even
as
though-
well. Maybe
Yeah,
my
like-
point about the Lakers being the – I still feel the Lakers just a little bit more consistent than the Clippers. I still feel that.
I would like to see. It's just LA had a very good final 4 games of that Portland series. And then they start off a little bit rough against Houston. It's just can they I'm going to talk about my prediction later once we move into that series, but I think that Denver, if they can work through Jokic and then create opportunities for Murray and those perimeter guys, then yeah, maybe they'll steal a game. But I don't see this series going more than 7 or 6 games in LA's favor.
For the Clippers, for your meaning.
Yeah, I'd say
I
max
originally
Clippers
wrote Clippers to win in 5. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think it's going to be in 6 as well. Yeah. And if it goes to a game 7, I think it's a coin flip. I really do, because even though the Clippers are the better team, they just have not been that team that we all expected them to be with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and all these bench pieces that just seemingly never end with stamina. They're so deep. But for me, it's just like I feel like I'm watching the Clippers of old, not the Clippers of now.
And Denver's bench is a big factor too. Monte Morris, guys like PJ Dozier, Jeremy Grant, when he can make shots. Denver's bench is a big factor because when they show up, it makes a difference. Yeah. Another team's bench. Go ahead, Jayden.
Another thing as well.
Last point on this series.
It's sort of also about the series, but then again, the Clippers don't have a LeBron in my eyes. They don't have that guy that wills you to the end. And I don't think Kawhi hasn't shown it for me. Dane's back in the table.
Did you watch the playoffs
last year? But he hasn't done it with the fucking Clippers, my boy. So that's my point. Bleep that out, Dane. He hasn't done it this year.
Kawhi's numbers all series against the Mavericks.
He dropped 15 last game.
It was one game. LeBron dropped 0 in the fourth quarter in game 1.
So what are you going to do?
Kawhi was the best player in the playoffs in the first round.
In the first round, but why he hasn't shown to me this series. He hasn't shown to me this season. Didn't show it to me all this games. So I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. I don't see a guy. I don't see a guy for this Clippers team that is willing and able to push them if it hits to a game 7.
Round against the
I know for a fact that if LeBron James gets to a game 7, he will not lose that game for his team. I guarantee you that. But if it gets to a game 7 with the Clippers, I cannot say the same about these two LA teams.
Really?
I cannot say the same, and I guarantee you that.
You are dissing. Okay, I'm a Lakers fan.
I like Kawhi. I love Kawhi. I love Kawhi. I think he's great, but from right now, as it shows, right now, he has not been able to show crap to me.
Game in and game out in the first round, he has 2 finals
MVPs.
Consistent player in the whole
I'm talking right now. We put Michael Jordan in a pair of basketball shoes right now. 6-time finals MVP. Doesn't fucking shit to me right now.
Oh my God. LeBron, 0 points in the fourth quarter in game 1 against Houston.
But they're consistent, Dane. They're consistent.
Right now. It's one game. Talk about overreaction.
Bucks in 4.
You picked Portland to beat the Lakers.
I don't care. You picked Bucks in 4. All right. Let's take it.
Go to the Lakers series. Gosh. Tied 1-1 against Houston. Can we stop falling for pump fakes, by the way? Please, all the Lakers officially. We just run out on defenders and go, wee! And go by, and then they make threes. Give credit to Houston. They play really fast. LeBron compared them to the greatest show on turf, like the Rams back in the 80s or whatever, the football team. But the Rockets are playing good basketball. Thank God for Russell Westbrook last night. Couldn't make any shots compared to 24 points in game 1. Also, another difference I noted. Get Anthony Davis more shots. You need to find ways to screen other Rockets players to get Anthony Davis in those post-up situations because his post fadeaway, it's money. It's money. And they really can't guard that. LeBron, again, more assertive offensively. But one thing that does concern me, Markieff Morris, fantastic last night. Rondo, I know, Connor, we talked about that. You were going to talk about him much better last night. Plus 28, plus minus 10 points, 9 assists, did a good job. Caruso, although he didn't score much, was good defensively. Good enough defensively. And Rondo was good off the bench, and Kuzma scored 13. So are you really going to get that good shooting and that much bench production off the bench every game? And is Russell Westbrook going to suck that bad every game? I don't know. So I think the Lakers need to play a little bit faster defensively, and they're trying to double team Harden, and most of the time that doesn't pay off. You know what I mean? Unless it ends up in Westbrook's hands from 3. Because a lot of times, what let them get back in the game? They were double teaming Harden so early in the shot clock that they would just pass to one guy, and they'd pass it around the key 5-on-4. And because they play small ball, they have 5 shooters on the court that can knock down the 3, kind of with the exception of Westbrook. So maybe, and the double teams work sometimes. Double team a little bit later in the shot clock, force them with some pressure, with some time winding down. Double team them a little bit later in the shot clock, and maybe try and take some chances one-on-one. I know Harden's one of the best ISO players, but unless he gets blazing hot, I think you can be a little bit better. All right? I don't think it's the end of the world. If PJ Tucker has it, Daniel House, Eric Gordon, let them try and go one-on-one a little bit, unless it really starts coming back to bite you in the butt. I have Lakers in 6, but it's a tougher series than Portland. Houston's not going to let them go down. Easy.
You're looking at it and you mentioned it, Rondo. I'm just going to talk about him first. obviously abysmal. You just look at the plus minus, and I'm not one to over analyze plus minuses, but it was clear that the Lakers were not the better team whenever he was on the court game one. Then game two is a completely different story. He had Lakers shooter shot 11 of 15 for 28 points off of passes from Rondo in game two. Like he was distributor Rondo, prime Rondo.
Rust?
Like he was giving you, huh?
Was it rust? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe it's like I think he had way too many minutes, like way too much responsibility in that first game back, and they just kind of threw him into the fire. But it seems like it might have paid off. Like even though you lost game one, you got him prepared for game two. You got him ready to really show that like he's still the point guard. He's still the point guard. He can play. But I mean, that's the thing with Rondo. You don't know when you're gonna get a really bad game, and you're definitely gonna get one because like he makes 1 3, he thinks he can shoot 3 more. Stuff like that. But there's a lot of extremities that happen in that game. Like, I don't think Houston's going to shoot as hot as they did in the second half. I don't think Westbrook's going to play as bad as he did. Like, it's just, I think a lot of stuff is going to balance out over these next couple of games. I think that LA, they're going to really, all these kind of like extremes. Like, yes, they jumped out to the huge lead in the first half. Then they let Houston get back into it. I think LA is going to win the next 3.
We got lucky a little bit because Houston missed some open threes. We're going to have to be better defensively. LeBron, early in that fourth quarter, LeBron made plays defensively.
LeBron needs to be more of a scorer. Like,
I know. LeBron,
not a shooter. Not a shooter.
In the fourth quarter, LeBron James, that was his game. Like, he gave the Lakers back the lead. They didn't relent. And then they started to get Anthony Davis going. But
if LeBron turns into the dribble drive guy, like just running down the lane full head of steam, and then maybe kick out to Danny Green or whoever's sitting there, Kuzma on the
shooting well, by the way.
Who? Green?
Green?
Yeah, Green's having a good series. Like the pump fake is working well for him. But I think LeBron, he needs to be more of an aggressive scorer, and by that I mean like downhill, get to the rim, not a shooter, because then you're just letting Houston win defensively. Like, give AD as many touches as you can and be creative with it, but also let LeBron just drive to the rim because who's stopping him on Houston? PJ Tucker? Like, I get PJ Tucker's holding his own defensively against AD, but that's like in post defense from standstill. Get LeBron a full head of steam, driving down that lane, no one's stopping him.
Jayden, before you go, I talked about the loss of Avery Bradley, how that sometimes that was going to hurt. It hurt in the Portland series a little bit, but they were more pick and roll oriented, right, with Nurkic. Houston's so ISO-oriented, and Connor and I kind of messed that up a little bit on the Instagram Live, but that hurts so much because he's your best on-ball defender. If you could have a guy, because Avery, I know Lou Dort, you can do much better than him, but if you could have a guy that could go toe-to-toe with Harden for a while, that would help the Lakers so much right now because then you wouldn't have to try and do those double teams and get Houston in a 5-on-4 situation. But, yeah, I mean, and I don't know if you disagree with this, but I feel like Houston's playing with house money here. They're not expected to beat LeBron James and Anthony Davis, whereas OKC, they were expected to beat them. I get Harden and Westbrook. They're together. They're supposed to be a really good team, but look at the matchups. Like, on paper, the Lakers should just blow them out of the water, but they're not because Houston moves it so well and they're scrappy on both ends, right? So
I still say I had OKC win the other series, but now I'm gonna say Lakers in 6.
okay.
And I have the Lakers need to be prepared to contain Westbrook when he starts to get going, because currently he's not, obviously, and when that time comes, they need to be ready. Deb.
No.
I think the Lakers just need to be ready for when he starts to heat up, because I think it's inevitable. Like it's going to happen. It's Westbrook, right? We've seen
dude.
Years.
He's going into a bunch of trees and he can't shoot. JaVale McGee's
that's what I'm saying. He's going into trees.
McGee's hurt, by the way.
He's
That's
gonna
adjust. Dwight Howard's gonna get more minutes.
The thing is, he's gonna adjust, and they're leaving him open for 3. And we see those infamous pictures where it's like no one in a 5-mile radius of him shooting a jump shot, right? But if he starts to get going from there, I know he that's not his game. It hasn't been his game ever, but if he could start get going, maybe with a little from a mid-range or whatever, I think the Lakers need to be ready to not just keep all their focus on Harden, because if Westbrook gets going, then they have some trouble on their hands.
I just want to add one more thing before we have to go over to the Eastern Conference Series, because Dane, you mentioned Houston's playing with house money. I'm the opposite way. Like, They made that deal, like they mortgaged that Chris Paul, like you gave away, I think, 2 first-rounders and 2 rights to pick swaps with OKC. for Russell Westbrook, and you gave up Chris Paul with that too.
That's
Like,
before small ball though. Like
you
no one
can't
thought they were gonna go
afford
that.
to waste a season, especially with Westbrook's health issues. Like,
That's their
and
problem.
I don't think he's full strength right now. Coming off that quad injury. I think that's what it was. But I mean, it's just they were expected to beat OKC, and it did go to 7. And yeah, LA is expected to beat them. But I mean, game 1 proved that they can hang with them. And like this, if they get eliminated, no one's going to be talking about, oh, they fought valiantly against the Lakers. They're going to be talking about that Westbrook trade might have just ruined the James Harden era, and it might have sealed their fate never getting a title.
I think they will.
Their
little
odds
bit
go down
later.
every single year. Because next year, Golden State and Brooklyn is entering the title mix.
Okay, yes, you're right. But in the media, I think it will at the start of next season. They'll look at the picture and be like, damn, you're right. And they'll realize what your point. But in the media aftermath, they'll think, wow, that small ball lineup really almost beat the Lakers or something like that. And who knows if they even do. Gosh, kill me if they do. But if Houston, they'll think, wow, that small ball lineup really put up a fight against LeBron and AD. In the immediate aftermath, I think they'll think that. And then the start of next season, they'll think, oh, there's more title contenders. Where does Houston fit in? Oh, wait, they don't. So, you know what I mean?
That's why their window is way smaller than the contracts and the picks say they is. But that's enough Western Conference talk. We have a very tight series that it's also going to be game 6 today.
Wow.
No, game
Game
5,
five.
sorry. Game 5, yeah. Big pivotal matchup, best of 3 now between Toronto and Boston. Boston obviously jumped out to the 2-0, but OG Anunoby hit that game winner. Yeah, Serge Ibaka, OG.
I
But
love
no.
that
And
name,
then-
by the way. OG and
Love that name. And then the quote after.
I'm gonna name my kid OG if he hits like a NBA Finals buzzer beater at to win the finals or something. I'll name my kid OG.
So just to recap your bets, you now have what? Blonde, like bleach hair if Houston wins.
Cornrows if the Nuggets win.
And then now if Toronto wins, or is it if OG hits
If
a
OG
buzzer
and Anunoby
beater?
hits a buzzer beater to win the NBA Finals, I name my kid OG.
You heard it here first. Now, going back into the series, I'll actually go to Jayden because I kind of know where he's going, but I just want to hear his thoughts. I'm just going to reword this question differently than how I'd ask Jayden, but how confident are you in Toronto to win 2 of these next 3 games?
Yeah, I'm very confident. I think it's going to be in 7. I had it in 6. I don't think they'll win the next 2 in a row. So I'm going to say Toronto in 7 over.
You're so lucky you hit that shot.
6. I'm just trying to be happy like Kyle.
It's a good
Lowry,
shot.
man. I just want to.
It's a great shot.
Hug somebody.
Great pass.
Smile like that.
Great
Like,
pass.
Great pass, great shot, everything. Love
Listen,
Taco
that's
Fall.
happens when you got good
Real-
team
yeah.
basketball. And
Boston
another thing too,
7.
actually, I saw how the bubble has been helping out a lot of these NBA teams, and with Taco Fall standing there, right? The baseline, the sideline, there's more
you can have
space
more
to
room, we don't
stand.
fans. Yeah.
So when you have someone like Taco Fall standing in front of you, and you don't have a lot of space, that's a tough pass to make. But with someone so far back, right, that helps you out. So it's a smart thing. It's a smart
I'm
thing.
sticking with my pick, Boston in 7. I said it was going to be highly contested, like everyone else. When Walker made that pass to Tice for the dunk in Game 3, I thought Celtics up 3-0, series over. But and though we made the shot, it's better for viewing, better for TV, whatever. Raptors are a good team. I think it's going 7, and like I said, I think Boston Stars will get it done. And the play of Kemba Walker has been fantastic. Kemba Walker is scoring offensively, and like I said, Jayden, I think it's going 7, but I think it's going to be close, and I think Boston's going to pull it out. I understand why you picked Toronto. If they win, I'm not dissing Toronto, and I wouldn't.
The Celtics are a good.
I'm going to say, and I don't want to hate on Miami. Like, Miami's played so well, and it's been 1 loss. I don't want to overreact, but my gut is telling me that whoever wins this series is going to win the East.
Yeah.
Which one, the Miami and Milwaukee?
No,
Yeah.
the Boston.
No,
Toronto,
yeah, Boston,
okay.
Toronto, yeah.
I think
disagree
regardless
with
of how
Miami,
this
though,
game
Miami's
goes,
played-
regardless of how Game 5 goes, I have Toronto in the series. Like if they win Game 5, I think they have the experience to close out Boston. And if they do lose Game 5, I think it's going to be a narrow margin. But their backs are against the wall. We saw how their backs were against the wall pretty much these last 2 games because you can't go down in the series 3-0 or 3-1. There's only been 2 teams in NBA recent history to ever do that. One was for a title, and the other was on the back of 50 burgers on a nightly basis from Jamal Murray. So, and there's no one on the Raptors who's doing that for you. But I think the Raptors
Oh, Warriors Thunder, yeah.
Sorry.
And Katie left to go to Golden State. Oh, you had to remind him. You had to remind him. Oh man. Continue, Connor. Just had to good throw in, Jayden.
I mean, I wasn't even trying to ignore that. I just straight up forgot about that. I was able to remove that from my memory, but thank you so much for bringing that up. I really
Oh,
appreciate
you would have
that.
won. I feel like you
Yeah.
would have beat LeBron. I don't know. That
We
would've
would
been-
have.
I don't know.
That
Don't
team
get
was
into
so dangerous. But don't get me started. Someone take over.
All right.
I kind of do agree with your
Are we
point.
still talking about
Are we all saying that this goes to 7 or no?
Yes.
I'm not. I'm saying
You're
Toronto
not.
in 6.
6.
I'm saying
I'm gonna stick
Boston
with my
in 7.
prediction. My
I'm sticking
prediction's
with
still
mine. I
alive.
said
I'm gonna
Boston
stick
in
with
Yeah,
it.
I said Toronto
Yeah.
in 6 too, but I do like how Boston's playing. I think they're
And
playing
it's
good
at this point of
basketball.
the
Kemba
series,
Walker,
like
Brown,
we've seen each team's best. If Boston wins in 7, I'm not gonna be shocked.
Exactly. Same thing if
Toronto wins in
in
6, I'm not gonna trash talk Dane either because these teams are very evenly matched. They're very good teams. They have been very slim margins of games, so this is going to be great basketball. These final 2 or 3 games, whoever wins and however it goes.
Yeah, Connor, you said we wouldn't be trash talking this series. Obviously, like you said,
We're going to
it's
be trash
highly
talking
contested.
this series if it goes our way.
Yeah, we're gonna be trash talking this series, especially even if it goes 5. Milwaukee, man, Bucks in 4. So Jayden, I gotta ask you, it's 3-1 now. Tomorrow will be game 5. We don't know Giannis's status yet. He hurt the ankle, but Chris Middleton finally showing up in game 4. So my question is, do you think the Bucks will make the ultimate comeback and win in 7?
Yes. Next question. I'm answered.
No, you're not.
But,
Come on, you gotta answer this.
I
Face
think
your fears.
the Bucks might be the worst team to ever step on a basketball court in the history of
Don't say that to my boy.
in the
Josh
history
Gordon.
of
That's such a
sport.
diss.
In the history, I've seen better pickup games over by my house over there than how the Bucks.
They
have
won
played.
game 4.
Yeah, but without
Momentum.
Giannis, and I don't know. I so many
What if
questions.
Giannis plays
I
game
listen. I don't even know.
Then
know.
does Middleton put up the same performance? It's like how
I
good can
was
Middleton
done.
play
I was
with
done with the
Giannis?
Bucks after they went down 2-0. I was like, dude, not because they couldn't come back. It's just because they're playing so bad that it was just like terrible.
What if
watch.
how about is Miami playing so good?
I think so.
How
I
about
think
you
Miami is
attributing
playing.
that?
Miami has the perfect
I was
game
thinking
plan.
about this. I was thinking about this, and it's like, are Milwaukee losing these games or Miami winning these games?
Kind of both.
And I think it's
Yeah,
kind of
definitely
both,
both.
because Miami's playing really. It's not like Miami is just like getting free wins out of nowhere. It's like they're really pretty good. Yeah, I did underestimate.
They're earning them 100%.
I did say 4, my Bucks and 4 for a little bit of a hot take. I'll try to reach for that, but yeah, the Bucks are just playing like absolute garbage. So
I
the
think
fact that they
I'm
won
looking
one
at it
game-
as
Dude,
Miami is
I'm telling
forcing
you,
them into playing absolute
Miami,
garbage.
and this is sort of a new
Yeah.
season. I think Jeff
And you
Van
would
Gundy-
think that they would be able to adjust into 7-game set. You think, after 2
Well,
games,
they did
we
in
play a
Game
little
4.
bit
They
better.
finally played their
Yeah,
stars in Middleton over 40 minutes.
they
That's what
finally
you have to do
performed,
at this
but
point of the season.
without Giannis on the court, and that says a lot about Giannis. Like, come on, I know he played a good first quarter, and I hope this might be a realization for the Bucks. Like, hey, maybe you don't have to run the whole damn offense through Giannis, So, yeah.
Listen,
Miami's going to win the series hands down without shut of a doubt.
Van
I'm
Gundy's-
sorry. I apologize to all the Bucks fans that I disappointed by saying Bucks and 4.
I'm gonna make a few points. I told this to Connor. Jeff Van Gundy said it's basically like a new season. You sort of ended it early, and then there's sort of like I think it was a longer off season, longer than a regular off season with the break. So it's kind of sort of a new season if you think about it that way. Not necessarily, obviously not, but the Heat were the 5 seed for a reason, or 4 or 5. They were the 5, but they probably would have been the 4 in a regular season. I'm guessing. They were a streaky team, right? During the regular season, right? They had like 30 losses. They were like 44-30 or something like that. So they do have their weaknesses. I think Miami's going to close it out. Give credit to Tyler Hero.
without shot of a doubt.
But I think I call him Big Nuts Tyler Hero because that kid just so fearless. He just lets it fly, sinks it. He's got a clutch game. Okay, next though. If Milwaukee and maybe let's say Middleton stays hot, if Giannis maybe can play a little bit and Milwaukee can steal another one, buckle up.
No, I'm telling
Buckle
you,
up.
bro, this is.
I'm not
this is
saying
over.
I think Miami's going to win in 5. I said that.
This game is
But-
over. This season's over.
I'm telling you, if there were to be a year where someone would come back down 3-0 for the first time, wouldn't it be this circumstance? Wouldn't it be in this bubble? Wouldn't it? Yes, it would be.
Not feeling it. Sorry.
Wouldn't
Sorry.
it, wouldn't it be
Sorry,
a
I
perfect
Dan.
think-
storyline? I'm
Who
not
did you
saying-
have? Don't you had
Middleton
Milwaukee
lose
going
another
all the
game,
way to
you
the
bring back
finals, right? So let me keep that in
Do it.
mind. And then what was I gonna say? Connor, who you had the Heat winning this one? Am I correct?
Yeah, Heat in 7. I had Milwaukee.
and
Yeah, in
the
7,
episode
so-
you weren't on, I said the Heat are
Yeah.
making it or even winning the Eastern Conference, and Dane was laughing me off the episode. So ha ha ha.
So
to you.
so at
Okay,
least
I was
I don't
wrong.
have
I was
Milwaukee
wrong.
going the whole
Wrong.
way. I know I picked Milwaukee in 4, but obviously that I'm picking off of.
Oh, don't
this-
hedge it. You can't
I'm
hedge
picking
this.
off
You
of my.
can't hedge
This bracket has gone through a lot. This guy's gone through a lot. So
It's
over
not
here
that
it
bad
says,
yet.
I had Miami winning in 7 versus the Pacers, right? And they're gonna be tired for Milwaukee, right?
Oh, we've heard this. We've
Obviously-
heard this story before.
Obviously, that did not happen. Miami now is the hottest team in the playoffs at the moment, right? Correct. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah,
I think
I'd
so.
say
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd say
They,
that.
they're
Maybe Toronto now, but
they're about to sweep the freaking
Miami.
They're not sweep. They're about to destroy the Bucks.
They're
They're
7-1
the best.
in
the
the
see,
best
no,
players.
Jayden just needs to keep talking against the Bucks, and they're gonna win another game.
Yeah, here's
So-
my thinking. Like,
Another
without
game?
hearing Jayden talk another word, I want to pick Miami in 6. Like, that'd be my prediction now. If I after watching the first 4 games, I'm saying, okay, maybe Milwaukee steals Game 5, but I think Miami will squash them in 6. But the more Jayden keeps saying Milwaukee's dead, I keep thinking like, are they really gonna
Milwaukee's
pull this
dead,
off?
bro.
Honestly,
Milwaukee's dead.
if Milwaukee comes back, and I don't think they will. I think Miami's gonna close out in 5, like I said. But they need to have a 30 for 30, and they need to like show clips from our show. Like just
Yeah,
have, and Jayden needs to be like a frequent interviewee that just is like, yeah, man, me and my bracket, it was so tough. I picked Bucks in 4.
I picked.
Here's
no,
the thing. Here's the thing. If
we're gonna produce
Milwaukee
Bucks in
comes
4
back,
might have been a stretch, and I put I've thought about this many nights. I put myself in a bad spot because even if I was so confident to say that because I knew the Bucks are gonna win the series, right? In my head, I was like, "Oh, the Bucks are gonna win the series without a shadow of a doubt," right? I knew it, so I was like, "You know what? I'll pick them in 4." So I said, "All right, that's it." So if they're, man,
here's
we
the thing.
didn't have
If
to pick the
Milwaukee wins it in
numbers-
7, Jayden, you are not allowed to say,
I'm
"Oh,
not allowed.
Milwaukee's
Yes,
gonna
I
win."
guarantee
You are
I'm
not
not
allowed.
allowed.
Okay.
I'm
Listen,
not allowed,
I
yes.
think Miami's
But here's
gonna
the
win in
no.
5,
If Milwaukee
and I'm
also
not
wins in
ruling it
7,
out. I'm not ruling it out. I had Milwaukee in 7, and I'm not ruling it out. So you can't diss on me if I
No,
say
but you can diss on me 100%. But like,
Yeah,
I am not
100%.
allowed to
No,
say,
but-
"Oh yeah, I knew the Bucks are gonna win all the way." Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
If
I
Milwaukee
don't even
comes
want to
back,
look at
I
that
just
part of
want
the bracket. Like, I just want to go like this. Sorry, I'm knocking my mic. I just want to go like this because Toronto's down. I can't even see it, but Toronto's down there. So that's all I care about in the East, and that they're just gonna go. Whatever happens, there happens. I really don't care anymore.
if Milwaukee comes back in 7, I want Dane. I need you to like trim up like clips of Jane just saying Bucks in 4, and then like the highlights
See-
with Curb Your Enthusiasm music in the background, and then just like record scratch. Oh, Bucks are dead, and then Bucks highlights, Curb Your Enthusiasm, roll the credits.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have so much fun with that. You know,
Well, you're assuming that the Bucks are gonna make it back all the way, but I don't
No,
know.
I'm not. It's just like that's just in case. But
Yeah, just in
I mean,
case.
that's talk for this series.
Do you
and
think this
there's
makes it
also
easier
one
for
key-
Toronto, or if the Miami
No.
goes ahead and beats the Bucks? do
I
you think
mean,
that
either
makes it
way, they're gonna
easier?
have a tough matchup. Like,
Yeah.
I
this is
think
not gonna be
my
a walk in the park for either team.
Toronto's a harder matchup for Miami. I feel like because they defend a little bit better on the perimeter. Same thing with Boston.
Yeah, I think Toronto would have a better chance against Miami than Milwaukee.
Everybody
I think
loves
Boston
a
would,
good Cinderella.
too.
So
Wouldn't you say Boston would because they have wing guys?
Yeah, I think Boston would be a better option against Miami too. Like they do better against Miami, but
Miami right now is the
I'm-
equivalent of like the 12 seed in March Madness. Like they're just like a great Cinderella team, just telling a story.
I
going
think they're
through.
better than.
I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
but
they're
like a
better
March
than the
Madness
12 because
12
I was
seed,
giving-
you know, because
Yeah, but
in this
12
they're
Because
the
I was
five.
giving them
That's
love
the
before the
thing.
bubble even started. It's not like people.
Yeah, but you don't give
first
love.
off,
You don't
yeah.
give love to the 8 seed, but you give love to the 5 seed. You know, the middle of the pack. You know, that's what I'm saying. Maybe not the 5. Maybe like the.
Yeah,
They're
but
my
no,
sleeper
what
team,
I'm
and they're
saying is-
paying off right now.
Like I
I'm
said,
not picking a 12 team to make it to the Final Four. I'm picking the 5 team, and they're the sleeper team.
You
Yeah,
never pick
my
the
last
5
word-
team to make it
my
to the
last
Final
words on this-
Four.
Yeah, you do.
No,
Every
you
now and
don't.
Then, yeah.
They lose all the
You're
time
picking
in
a
the
12
first
team.
round.
You're picking
Yeah,
a
well,
12
I wouldn't pick a
team
12 team, but I make it. I say maybe Elite 8 if it's for fun. You know, March Madness, but 5 seeds. historically. I mean, this is common knowledge of basketball, guys. It's common knowledge. 5 seasons, numbers-wise, too
I want to
bad.
have March Madness so bad with you guys because
Oh my God, we just missed out on it. Don't worry.
Speaking
Well,
of
I'm gonna say-
common knowledge, I
I'm
just
not
want to
saying-
transition, like lateral shift into topics here. Common knowledge, and it is kind of a hot topic. Not so much. It kind of fizzled off after it was said, but Richard Jefferson had a take quake
I hate
in
that guy.
saying that
You think
Giannis
my
was a
takes are
Pippen.
bad? Look at that guy. He guy played in the NBA. He just takes it. Where are they hiring these
Now,
people?
I saw-
Perkins.
I saw a couple
Where are they
people
hiring
here.
these
I have a monologue
Ball
ready
dudes.
for this. Like I saw this, and I like in this.
Save it
I
for a
instantly
debate with
texted
Coach
Dane.
Chat. Save it for
Yeah,
a
I'm
debate.
prepping for a debate, and this is literally just a preview, Connor Wood. So if you're watching, take notes. It's not going to matter because this argument is dead before it even starts. But the fact that he had the audacity to call Giannis a Pippen. First off, Pippins don't win MVPs, much less back-to-back.
He's gonna win back to back.
Like,
I don't know when it's gonna be announced.
But I want to call him a
Pippins
Jordan
barely win
either.
any awards. Pippins barely win any award. Oh, trust me, dude. I'm gonna be talking for a while. I think I have like a page and a half of notes that's
Oh,
single
man.
space. So Pippins barely win any awards to begin with. Pippen played 17 seasons, 5 weekly awards, 2 monthly awards, and then 7 All-Stars, 7 All-NBA teams, 0 MVPs, only 5 finishes inside the top 10.
Yeah, but like you
No
got to remember
defensive
who
player
he's
of the years
playing
either.
with.
Still. And then Giannis,
Play with
7
Jordan,
seasons.
yeah.
He is already at 13 weekly awards, 8 monthly, 4 All-Star games, 3 All-NBA, soon to be 2 MVPs, and at least 4 finishes inside the top 10 already.
He
And
needs
then
a
1
Pippen.
DPOY
And Middleton
already.
isn't it. That's it.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. So it took 4 seasons for Jordan to win his first MVP and 7 to win his first title. Like, why is everyone just assuming that Jordan had instant success whenever he came into the
He's
league?
the greatest-
Giannis got his
and that's
first
why people hate on
MVP and his 4th season. Hey, I told you I have a
Go
monologue.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, quit cutting me off. I put like all this time into these notes, and I
Don't let
can't even
go.
get through a
Don't let
single
go.
bullet.
Go ahead.
Just let me work. I was a
No.
researcher on HTT for this.
Work.
But no, he came into the league way more developed than Giannis. And Giannis got his first MVP in his 4th season as a starter. So he's pretty much, I'm not saying he is MJ, but he's on a similar arc to where, yeah, it took him a while to win those MVPs, but now they're starting to roll in. Now he's like unanimously considered a top 3, top 5 player in the league. Now going into advanced analytics to really get a deeper dive, Giannis has a PER, player efficiency rating, of 31.9 this season and 30.9 last season. Both led the league. The closest MJ ever came to that was only one time with 31.7 and 87.88, which was his first MVP. Now, get this. Scottie Pippen's career best, 23.2. Career-wise, he ranks 124th in PER and is behind Al Horford. If we go by true shooting percentage, Giannis also beats out MJ. MJ's best season of true shooting was 61.4 and 88.89. And then Giannis had 64.4 last season and 61.3 this season. Pippen's career best was 56.1. He was 49th in the league that year behind Scott Skiles. Career-wise, Skiles, whatever. It doesn't matter. Pippen did worse than him in that stat career-wise. And then that season, then career-wise, you want to take a guess who I have that is ahead of Scottie Pippen right now?
Right now,
Tristan
a current
Thompson.
NBA player. Current?
Yes, Tristan Thompson is better than true shooting percentage than Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen
Oh,
isn't
no,
even
no.
top
Okay.
250 in the league.
Scottie Pippen was a wing. Tristan Thompson's the center.
Okay,
So
I
field
think-
goal
I
percentage.
get that,
but if you-
Are you done,
he's
Connor?
outside the
Because
top 250.
I like
He's
your
outside the top
points.
250.
I like your points,
And then,
Connor.
all right, I'm almost done. Don't worry. I'll let you guys talk after this because I'm going to need some air. But in estimated win shares per 48 minutes, Jordan does have the edge on Giannis, but both does Pippen. Like the league, just for reference, the league average is 0.100. So if we take the 8 years where Jordan led the league in that category, his average was 293. If we take the last 2 years where Giannis has won MVP, last season and then presumably this season, Giannis has averaged 286. And he also led the league in that category over that span. If we take Pippen's 8 best seasons, his average is only 186. Career-wise, Pippen ranks 132nd all-time. He is only 7 spots ahead of George Hill. Now, I'm not trying to use this segment to absolutely tarnish Scottie Pippen's legacy because we all know how good of a player he is. But to even compare him
He said it
to
himself.
Giannis Antetokounmpo,
All right.
like
So
He's kind
Okay.
of catching. He's kind of catching Frey shots because Richard Jefferson just decided to throw him into
He
that
said it himself.
conversation
that
for no
Listen.
reason.
Jefferson was wrong. So
Listen.
And now,
Wait.
I know you mentioned Middleton. Middleton needs to be better, and that's why Giannis is getting that talk. Giannis doesn't disappear in the playoffs. He has a PER of 28.4 in his last 22 playoff games, a true shooting percentage of 60%, and a win share percentage of 250, like 25.5 this playoffs. A box score plus minus of 9.5 over the last 2 playoffs, which is just slightly less than his regular season stat. So he hasn't diminished whatsoever in the playoffs. But Middleton, on the other hand, Middleton is having a 13.5 PER, 53.8 true shooting percentage for one of the best shooters in the league, 0.091 win shares percentage. That's terrible. And a net 0 box score plus minus. And then Bledsoe is just barely better than him. So this conversation should not be, is Giannis a Jordan or a Pippen? It should be, can anyone on the Bucks consistently stand up to be the Pippen to Giannis's Jordan? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay, so I think you took the statement by Richard Jefferson a little too literally, because I don't think when he made that statement, it's not about the numbers, it's about what role they play on the team, which you gathered at the end. So you gathered, can someone be the Pippen? But one thing about Pippen and Jordan, in my humble opinion, that has been tarnished throughout this episode, there's no Jordan without Pippen, and there's no Pippen without Jordan. And
Bingo.
I think that's a very fair point. Without each other, they would not have been what they would have been at all. Jordan up there with the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time, and Pippen has been established as the greatest number 2 of all time, right? I think that is another, maybe not. But now in this day and age of basketball, it's getting a little shake. But when you think of a number 2, you think of Pippen because he's behind Jordan. So Richard Jefferson, for him making that statement, obviously, I think was very, very wrong. I don't think Giannis is a Jordan. I don't think Giannis is a Pippen. I think Giannis is a Giannis. I think that is a very fair point to make. I think Giannis is a Giannis
That's the point.
and that is his game. He's not supposed to be a Michael Jordan. He is himself, right? And yes, obviously, he needs what we've thrown my bracket away for is because he hasn't had those pieces around it. It's only really have been him. Obviously, they showed it in the last game, but now we'll see from here. But
I just want to make one statement before you go, Dan. We need to stop just holding every star like to the same standard as like
Michael.
MJ
Yes,
or
that's what I've been
like,
saying. That.
We don't have to compare every single one because first off, the game of basketball has transitioned tremendously since the 90s to currently, and also even now if we're evaluating players playing different positions like LeBron or Giannis, like both obviously play same positions but different styles of basketball. We don't have
100%.
to compare each one at every second of their career. Let each be great.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's a good point. And I'm going to be very short and sweet on this. Like, if someone says, oh, you look like someone, or you play like someone, or you sound like someone, it's like a lot of people say, like, oh, I look like my dad or something like that and things like that. They're like, no, I look like Dane Richardson. Like, what are you talking about?
True. But I think it's also fair to make comparisons to players in the past. Like a lot of people –
Like, people like to do that.
When I like to compare players, I like to compare them on what they could possibly do for the league or what they have done for the league and stuff like that. So when Zion got drafted, I sort of compared him, not in the same light, but sort of in the same idea of a player to Shaq, because
Charles Barkley. That's all I got.
to Shaq only because you look at Shaq and what he did to the game, right? Dominant big man. No one has ever seen a force like that before in basketball. And now it's sort of the same resurgence with Zion. No one has ever really seen a force of resurgence like Zion, at least when we were hyping up for the draft, right? Like, damn, this kid is just a monster, like literally a monster. Like, he's just unstoppable. And a lot of people said the same thing about Shaq. I'm not comparing numbers, I'm not comparing height, weight, size, anything. I'm just comparing what their storyline is coming into the league.
I got nothing else to say other than everyone's beautiful just the way they are. Let them
Just the way you are. What's that song for tomorrow?
comment if you want to see Jayden tonight. Whole world stops.
Says for a while. 'Cause girl, you're amazing. Just the way you are. Yeah.
I think
We should
that's
go
the
on tour,
perfect
buddy.
capper to this episode. I
Jayden,
think
we
that's the
should go on
perfect
tour.
capper to this episode.
I should go on tour.
We should go on tour.
You got the hair. You got the hair. I don't care what anyone says.
I got the
Thanks,
locks.
Bruno Mars.
Yeah,
Comment
I
if
got
you
a
wanna
lot of
see
talk
Jayden
saying,
tonight.
why's your hair so long? I haven't gotten a haircut
Hey,
since before pre-COVID, spring semester.
how much could you slick it back right now?
pretty back. It goes back. If I wet it, it's going back to the bottom of my neck. So when I go play ball, I have to tie it up. But I'm okay with
Oh, damn. I was thinking about getting some of those Nike headbands, even though I don't really need it.
it. Yeah. You don't really need it. I
Thin
need
one.
I-
Hold it up.
Yo, hey, man, Jayden, comment below if you think Jayden and I should, like, sing a duet together.
Yeah. I think it would be great. I think
Hey, if we get to Valentine's Day, Connor will sing you a Valentine's song.
Also, another question. If you're watching, who do you think is the best basketball player out of us three? Go chat and agree to disagree. I think I want to see. I want to see who people would say.
What?
Because I think it's close between.
No cold,
couple
like
people.
cold. Don't like promote yourself or anything. I just want to see what people say. Like
Yeah.
people who
We
know
should
nothing
put
about
the
us.
poll in our story. Put the poll in our story. Or should
No,
we
put the poll in our story?
We'll do an Insta
Yeah,
post.
I'm not gonna. I just want to see like who do people think would be
All right.
the best. All right. Are we done with this episode? I think.
I think we
Subscribe.
are. We've covered everything.
Yeah.
We were thinking
A
about
roller
going back
coaster
into
of
that
emotions.
outside the bubble, but yeah, it was. We got everything. Like we got Jayden red as a tomato about
Yeah.
Kawhi. We picked up his mic.
But listen, only reason I say that is because
No,
I'm
we're
in
done.
clutch time in
done.
Game 7.
We're
done.
not going back into
done.
this. We're not
We're done.
going
gonna
back into
LeBron's
this.
gonna be able to do it. As it stands right now, I don't know if Kawhi will be able to do it. I hope he proves me wrong. And I hope you guys better pray.
I'm not necessarily.
You don't think so?
I'm a Laker fan, dude.
I know,
picked the
Leo
Clippers,
Laker.
but like
fan. You picked the
I'm gonna win
Clippers,
either
which is
way.
another shocking thing because I would
I'd
never.
rather have the Lakers win than my bracket challenge.
If the Knicks are in this playoffs, man, I don't know. Maybe I might have to make two brackets.
Don't talk about the Knicks. They don't deserve to be mentioned.
No
Yeah,
Knicks talk. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. We didn't talk about Thibodeau when he got hired.
We don't need
No,
to.
we didn't, because
Let's
the
end
Knicks
the
are-
episode. End the episode.
I think
we're
he's a
getting way
good
too
fit,
off
a strong
track.
defensive coach.
Connor,
and
end it.
something with the Knicks need.
And thanks for watching. No Knicks talk to end the episode, especially after all this bubble talk. Thanks for watching. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. Get us to 200, whatever. Share on your story. I don't care. Just watch us. We like that. Follow us on our socials. Connor, Glenn, Dane Richardson, Jayden Becker. For Dribbling Around, thanks for watching episode 17. Keep an eye out. We might post stuff on our stories, especially for Here's the Better Basketball. We might go live, but there's plenty of basketball. We're going to be watching. Hope you're watching. Hope you watch us next week. Thanks for watching.